We're back.
Ooh, number 69.
Oh.
Hello,
Wildflowers.
Yes, hello.
Microphone is on.
Okay, well, that's always good.
Well,
That's
that's
always
good.
helpful.
I'm Judy.
And I'm Carol.
And I'm Peggy.
Peggy's the camera person. That's why she always has to.
I like
slide
to make a grand entrance.
Yes, she does.
We're going to make you do a grand entrance sometime.
I'm going to give you a cake.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, how's everybody doing?
Doing well. We're
Yeah.
So far, we don't live in Alabama or anything.
Oh, thank God.
So that's okay.
Yeah, it's just scary. It's just or Florida. I'm sorry. You heard what's happening with Florida, right? With them banning social media for 16-year-olds and younger.
Oh no, I didn't hear that.
Well,
Is it legit? I mean, is it really?
I think they're considering it for you have to be 16 or older to be on certain social media accounts. Now, I haven't read what the law, the text of the law
Wouldn't
is.
that be up to your parents?
Hello.
Oh gee,
Oh,
it's government overreach that the Republicans are always complaining about.
It's so funny because I wrote that.
And, it's so silly because, most of these social media platforms already have some sort of an age limit. And I know so many parents who just create, let their kids do it, creating. All you have to do is say you're 16 or 17.
Right.
Nobody's How are they going to enforce that?
I know.
Why are we wasting our time?
Well, they're
on
trying
this?
to, what I read, the thing, but again, you have to be so cautious what you're reading because you don't know if it's BS or not. Especially with AI. It just scares me sometimes because Joy Reid, who is on MSNBC, I forget which one she's on, which channel, but I saw a whole video of her saying how Trump was arrested and all the stuff, and it was her speaking, and I was like, what? And I went on the TV to see, and no,
I'm not even sure
close.
you're really you right now. Are you sure this is not an AI?
I know, exactly.
I know it is scary. I didn't mean to make light of it, but
no,
it is true.
no.
The next generation.
Well, that's why, and
forth,
even before the whole AI thing, you always have to double check what you're hearing.
Yeah.
Just
now
don't
you're gonna
believe
have to
it.
triple check.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
I mean, that's the reason why journalism, I think really good quality journalism, where it's a lost art and it's very, very important because to get to be such a stature in journalism, you have to know how to source check and verify your sources and everything.
Well, that's what I like about CNN. A lot of times when they say something, they'll say we haven't sourced this yet, like we
They'll
haven't
let you know.
investigated it yet.
Right.
But this is what
Right.
so and so said. But
Right.
Well, one thing I think a lot of sources have been, already verified is what happened in Alabama with their highest court's decision. How do you ladies feel about that? Because I think we've all predicted this when Roe versus Wade was overturned.
exactly,
This is
they're
exactly what
gonna
we
chip away at everything.
And it's interesting with the women. I would just, that this is something that now. I mean, it affects families, but I mean, it's again something about a woman's decision whether or not she
a woman's body,
the baby, the embryo, or not.
the egg.
The egg.
It's just, there's so many memes going around now,
No, but I mean, now,
first, the
let's think
baby
about
or
it.
the egg.
Alabama is saying that an embryo outside of a body is a baby.
So you know what? Then then whoever's created that, they'll have to pay child support, and they'll have to take care of it, and they'll have to.
Excuse
I
me,
mean,
I'm very
it's
sorry.
Well, what they, there's just so much to do. But I mean, the decision itself, how replete it was with references to Christianity.
Yep.
That should be scary enough because
blatant.
Christianity isn't the only religion out there.
It was
and there are
really,
people who don't believe in any religion, and so the nerve of him, the Chief Justice who wrote that opinion, the nerve of him to
use the
write
Bible?
that way.
That's right.
Yeah,
well,
is
they're trying to create a Christian nation. That's what it's called, Christian nationalism.
But that isn't even Christian. That's the thing. They don't even know their Bibles. They really don't.
There are states that are trying to ban IUDs now.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
not
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard that months ago too. Yeah.
So they're coming for the birth controls. I would love for them to start coming for the Viagra.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, if you can't get it up, you shouldn't be having a baby.
That's right.
So there you go.
Yeah,
There's no
right.
reason why.
And most
So
of the
let's-
men who get it are older men who are not in it for procreation anyway.
Well,
So
no, they're not. But you
Good
know what?
point, good
According
point.
to the Bible, isn't that what procreation is supposed? I mean,
Yeah.
sex
and
supposed
that's
to
what
be for?
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Procreation?
So why should they be allowed
Let's
to
ban Viagra.
get
Let's
their
see
dicks
how
up?
quick. Let's see how quick these Republicans and congressmen
Yeah,
will
I know.
look to start turning this over. They
Oh,
won't
yeah.
do that.
Well, I don't know. Some of them are backpedaling because
Yeah.
there's such an outrage about
Yeah.
it. Even Trump.
Probably Viagra's biggest client.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
So,
yeah.
but even I was disappointed with Nikki Haley's response. Did you see
Yeah,
her response
yeah,
to
it was-
about this whole embryo issue in
Yeah.
Alabama?
No.
She you
She's
know,
scared. Yeah.
Yeah.
she's just take a stand. This is why she's not winning.
Yeah,
take
I know.
a stance, Nikki
And
Haley.
she should have done it right from the beginning.
and
but
stop
she didn't.
skirting and backpedaling
Yeah,
on it. And so this
exactly.
is why she's losing. And it's a shame.
And
yeah.
also, like, she's saying that he's unfit to be president. But yes, if he's the candidate, I'll vote for him.
no
So
credibility.
you'll
at
vote for
all.
someone who you think is unfit to be the president.
and support him.
You know, folks,
The Republican
I knew
Party.
that we were going to have a
Dear
lot
God.
of bantering this time. I really did, because there's just, you know what, it's so easy for me, like, and I'm sure, I wanted to cry so many different times this week. I just cry, because the stuff I'm seeing and where we're sliding into, it's scary.
It's what we've said is going to happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing. We don't even have a crystal ball. You don't need to
No,
to
you
see
don't.
what's happening.
No,
next.
the Republican Party gives us an awful lot of fodder
Yes.
for
And-
discussion.
and-
Thank you very much.
And you were right by saying it's government overreach.
Yeah.
You know, here
Mhm.
you're right. They were the party of less government
Yeah.
restrictions.
Which is, but you know what?
And now
So let's
they're
reverse Roe v. Wade.
unless you're a minority or you're a woman, then it's okay.
Yeah.
But don't
Mhm.
come after the men.
Nope.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. It's just insanity, and
Or
it's
the rich.
Just,
Rich
it's
men.
all
know.
Even better.
You could easily
And white men.
Yeah, we could
Rich
easily,
white male.
We could easily write all the contradictions that the MAGA crowd has. It's
It would just take too long to do that.
It really
I don't
would.
think I'll live long enough to do that.
There's not enough paper.
I've got
Yeah.
to tell you, if I were younger, listen to us. If I were younger, though, seriously, I would be seriously considering moving out of this country. I don't know where I'd go, but I don't.
No, I'm not
that's
giving up the fight.
problem.
I wouldn't give up the
and
fight
that's not
like
the
that.
way to do it. I mean, this isn't a concept that's unique to America. I mean, you see this spread. Where soon, if you lose this, where else are you going to go? I mean,
I know.
it's
all over the world
Republicans are
anyway.
doing the Putin's bidding, and Putin is invading so many other places.
Mhm.
So I mean, where are you going to go? You have to take a stand. You got to fight
Well,
somewhere.
but
against
how
it.
do you fight? How do you
The
fight?
way we're doing it now.
That's right.
We're talking about
I
it,
know,
Carol.
I know,
We're not
but-
doing nothing.
And voting is the best
And
way of
voting,
fighting.
right.
And convincing other people that
It's so hard.
what
to
they're
do.
doing is it's unconstitutional. First of all, women
But they
have
don't
rights.
care. They don't care. That's the thing. They don't care. What you're saying makes sense, Peggy.
You know
but
what?
they don't
and
care.
also, what I don't understand with the whole abortion issue and now this IVF is, what about HIPAA laws? How come we're not protected by them?
What do you mean?
The HIPAA laws, it's like privacy.
It's
How is the government? I don't
That's
understand.
disclosure of your private information. You know.
So why can somebody in Alabama go get an abortion and like nobody can say anything about it?
well, you have to first prove who said it, right? And then it's prosecutorial discretion, right? You know, so how are you going to enforce it? So if Alabama's taken a stand that or whatever state that's outlawed abortion, you know, choose which case they're going to bring. Now, the governor, I think, or the lead prosecutor in Alabama has already said, I think, come out on the record that they are not going to prosecute anybody for
the
destroying
IVF.
the IVF.
Yeah,
embryos.
because they're all
But-
backpedaling. 'cause
Right,
scared.
they're back, and right,
Yeah.
they are scared. But I'm saying no other prosecutor that I know of in these states that have restricted abortion to the point has come out and said that they won't prosecute somebody if they
I'm
get
not
an
even
abortion.
talking about prosecution. I'm
just
just,
not personal-
talking about
No.
I'm protected. My medical information
Yeah.
is protected by the HIPAA laws.
Right,
So
but
how
apparently
could the
it's-
government say you can't have an abortion in this state? They're invading my privacy.
Well, of course, absolutely,
I-
and that's the
well-
insanity of it. That's
Well,
see, I'm
you
gonna
think
get so
HIPAA
angry.
is more of a civil liability here, and the other one is a criminal kind of a statute. And so where HIPAA is, so somebody who has access, and I'm not an expert, but my understanding of it is has access to your records. So if the nurse, for example, tells the prosecutor, hey, Peggy's, Zarin went and got an abortion. Okay, your cause of action would be against the nurse.
Oh, okay.
Do you
Oh,
understand?
I see.
And,
Yeah.
But and there's such a risk with abortion because it's not just you and your doctor that are making these issues. There's the receptionist who's making your appointment.
Mm-hmm.
There's the person who prescribes the abortion drugs to to prepare you.
Mm-hmm.
There's the people who maintain your records. There's a lot of people who do have access to your records.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Well, it's infuriating. That's all I know. But I came across a word. Well, shifting gears somewhat. And this is a word that I come across every time I come across it. I'm like, what does that mean again?
Oh, I hate that. That happens to me all the time.
I knew you were
have
going to say that because I feel the same way. I'm just
Yeah.
like, so this is the word jingoistic.
Oh, that's my country, right or wrong.
Yeah.
That's that.
I've never heard of this word.
Yeah, jingoistic. It's extreme patriotism.
Yeah.
I don't think I've come across.
Yeah.
I think I learned about that in high school for some reason.
Well, every time I forget what book I was reading it from, and I'm like, I gotta look this up again.
So
I'm not sure, but yeah, it's extreme patriotism. And
yeah, and
it's
that's a lot of
Well,
people
yeah,
in this
that's-
country like that. It
Right.
doesn't matter if it's right or it's wrong.
it's like
it's
it's my flag.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I have a word too.
You do.
Yeah, I do.
I
have a
never
word.
would have
Okay.
thought.
Don't look, because it's right here.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't see it.
Okay. Okay, so, stop, I forgot how to say it. Taphophobia.
What?
Taphophobia.
Spell it.
Taphe phobia. Taphophobia.
Afraid of taffy. Right. I know.
Taphophobia.
Afraid of something.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll give you a hint.
Afraid of diseases.
No, but I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
Okay. Edgar Allan Poe had it. I brought it up in the discussion. His
Fear of
greatest
marrying
fear.
an adult.
I knew she was going to say something like that. I
It was.
knew that. I knew. No.
Also, during that time, a lot of people put little bells in a place.
Oh, fear of vampires?
No.
Oh.
They're not afraid of bells. They're afraid of crosses. They would put a little bell in this
I'm glad I got
place
that
because
figured
they
out
were
now.
afraid of something.
Ghosts.
No.
You better tell
A
us.
fear of customers?
Oh God.
What is that?
Fear of being buried alive.
Oh, yes!
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah. That is.
Yeah.
Something, yeah. Definitely. That's scary.
All right,
Wow.
there you are.
And
I'll
real
save the
quick,
other
do
word
you
for the
guys
next
know
one.
where the term bootlegger came from? Like.
Oh
what-
yes, because it has something to. I read about that once. Didn't I do something on bootlegging once?
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like holding
the
like-
liquor in
yeah,
your
in
wooden
your-
leg or something.
Well, in your boots.
Yeah,
Boots, okay.
right.
Yeah. So yeah. That. Anyway. All right. So I think it's time for
you
wine.
thinking of a second
Yeah.
hobby?
I don't need to hide it in my boots.
But you need those wide,
right.
white cap boots.
Yeah, really.
Well, this one I carried in my wooden leg. Okay, this is. Oh, do I do the wine? Are we ready for it?
Yeah, we
Oh,
are.
I
Yeah.
thought that was my
We're
segue. Okay.
more than ready.
All right, this wine I bought strictly for the label because it had a lot of colors and I thought it was
No,
really
it's
pretty.
beautiful. It looks
Oh,
very
look.
Mexican.
Yeah, it's not Mexican actually.
don't-
It's from Portugal.
Oh
I don't
wow.
know if you can see it,
All
folks,
right.
but
Do you want to
nope.
pour while I talk a little bit about it?
I guess I have no choice.
Yeah. Okay. It's a
Be
2020.
careful with this. I just saw the alcohol content.
Oh no! So we can't even guess it.
It's a friendship Fado Vinho Regional Lisboa Reserva
What the
Diamazati. Very long name. Okay. It's a red blend from Portugal.
Smells good.
And I did not find too much. I found it won an award, as you can see. There's a medal on here.
Never mind.
Oh, she saw it all.
You saw it all?
No, it wasn't what I thought it was.
Okay. You mean the alcohol content?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought it said something much higher. I said, holy mackerel.
Oh, no, it's
29! Okay, I'll put it
All right,
in here.
so it did win a medal. It won the gold medal from World Wine in Spain. I can't read the rest. Yeah, 2021. So this is a 2020 wine, but it won the 2021 World Wine in Spain. And I found a lot of their wines apparently have won awards, but I thought I would read a
So Fado is the kind of grape?
I don't know. I was trying to find something on this, and
Can I see the bottle?
yeah, and it was very hard for me to find. I'm not the best. Oh, here, the wine is okay. On the plate, let's see, region, varietals. It says red blend. That's what it says. It's a red blend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did say that. Sorry.
Okay. So,
She's cheating.
do we want to? You don't read the alcohol content.
Oh,
on
I already saw that by accident anyway.
Okay,
So I
I'll
just
tell you.
won't guess. You
It's-
guys guess.
No, I know
No,
what
I
it is.
saw
okay.
it.
It's 13.5%, so
Right,
it's not the highest that we've ever had before.
That's true.
All right, what can you smell, if
Okay.
anything? Because it's got a very nice bouquet, I think, anyway.
Oh, I do like this bouquet.
Now, on one of the reviews, I said, this one that I have open right now says
Ooh,
it's a
good
ruby
legs.
color, but another one I read said had a garnet color. What do you think?
Well, I found out something about determining the color.
Okay.
I was watching this video on Wine Folly the other day, and when she wanted to show the color, she held it over a white piece of
Oh.
paper,
Oh.
and then look at the difference, how you could see like around the rim.
I feel like we did
Yeah.
that before. I feel like you
I've
shared
never
that
did.
I
before.
did. I don't remember ever doing
Maybe
it. I
you
said,
did that at
oh,
the
what a
wine
good
tasting.
idea.
Oh yeah, maybe we did that at the wine tasting.
All right, so,
So
with this, I'm
it's
going to
a
say
beautiful color. I'm going to go with
ruby.
I was going to say ruby too, but let me
Yeah.
look at my chart.
And I screwed up
Oh,
the
my
last
chart's
time
in the back.
when I said Ruby was written by Kenny Loggins. No, it was Kenny Rogers. That was my bad.
I didn't want to embarrass you.
I didn't even notice that you did
I
it.
did, and I was so
I'm
mad
just
at myself.
I knew that it wasn't Kenny Loggins, so it must have just registered as.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so
I would say that this is more purple.
okay,
All right.
I'm going to taste.
Yes. Well, let's raise our glasses to.
To every other state but Alabama and Florida.
Yeah.
exactly. To share.
Arizona too.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Ooh. I'm liking it.
It doesn't have a long finish. I need another sip.
It's very smooth.
Mm-hmm.
It smells like it has more flavor than it actually does.
It's got. I'm getting a little something in the back of my throat, like a little acidic kick. Do you
See, I'm getting it in the middle of my tongue.
Where are you getting kicked with the acid?
I both.
All right.
Places.
Do we have any idea of what's inside?
Great.
Yes.
All right. You want to know what kind?
What do you think? What notes or
what?
hints of it?
I'm gonna say
I'm using all the wrong
black
words.
fruit.
Okay.
Plums.
All right. This is saying it's got ripe red fruits,
Mm.
forest berries, and some balsamic notes. That could be the acid thing that I'm
Ooh,
tasting.
Yeah,
the balsamic.
balsamic.
And it said, let's see. So this was on the palate as good volume, well-matured tannins, and a persistence on the finish, good acidity, and very well balanced. But there was one that I saw. I like this one. Oh shoot. If I can find it again. Oh, forget it. Okay. I'm not gonna. Where it was actually a real review from somebody, not a
okay.
professional review, which I kind of like that idea that you're just getting the
Yeah.
not just the, and I
what
deleted
they're
it by
supposed-
mistake.
Well, let me ask you, where did you get this? Was it Stu Leonard's? Or
Got
was
this at Stu Leonard's.
Okay.
And this, if I remember rightly, it was about $18.
We were supposed to guess, weren't we?
Oh, yeah, I did. I got distracted because I found the review. Let me just show you. Okay, so this reviewer was from somebody, not a professional. They have a spot for professional reviews and from regular. So it says, very rich red garnet color that dissipates very minimally at the rim. On the nose, it smells powerful of dried fruit with some time to breathe. The initial taste on the palate give hints of raspberry and cherry. A coffee chocolate flavor finishes over the palate. The tannins are quite grippy in my opinion with a short finish, I agree with that, in terms of flavor, but high in acidity and alcohol. Very good with dark red meats. I enjoyed it with a rich ground beef dish.
Okay.
I don't know, I just thought that was like, real life.
No, yeah, exactly.
So it goes well with beefaroni.
I would say so, or sloppy joes maybe. No, but I think it's a good wine.
All right, so it's
it's good.
$18. That's very good. What do you rate it? How many wildflowers?
3.75.
Ooh, that's a number you pick a lot.
No, I'm gonna give it higher. I'm gonna say about 4.25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me
Maybe
take
4.5
another sip.
because it's not a thin one. It's got a short finish, but it's voluminous. It's heavier.
Yeah,
and
it
I like
is.
that. I do like. So I'm gonna say
And
4.5.
even 4.
I like
And
a
even
bit
for-
of a finish in the wine, and I don't have it here. It's solely everything I felt was in the middle of my tongue.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, I give it a 4.
But it was good.
Excellent. Okay, so not too bad.
Yeah.
So that's
it
a
was
Portugal
called
wine.
Fado. You know, I was in Portugal,
I know.
and their wines are very good. I like Portuguese wines.
I
I
thought
remember
it
you
was
saying that.
And well, the wine in Portugal
Yeah.
was so cheap too, but I was there in 2014.
Yeah.
But it was like amazing. It was like the equivalent of $2 for a great
Oh,
glass
that's
of
right.
wine.
Gosh, yes.
And when we had the bookstore, we sold a Portuguese Grenache.
I know we're moving now.
Oh, well, in Lisbon now is getting very hip with all the international food, so everything's probably a lot more expensive.
Oh, okay.
When we went, it wasn't that hip place, you know.
Not that
Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
Okay,
So.
well, it's my turn to do the book.
Okay, what do we have?
The Engineer's Wife by Tracey Enerson Wood, and it came out by, oh my gosh, my brain is just, Source Books, that's the
Source
publisher.
Books,
That's the
okay.
publisher. I saw the S, I couldn't finish it. This is historical fiction, but she uses a lot of things that were factual,
Okay.
and which I enjoy reading, and I enjoy researching, because it makes me want to research what she's saying, because I was like, well, is that fact or fiction?
That's what a good historical book should make you want to
Right, that's what I'm thinking. Well, it's about Emily Warren Roebling, and you don't watch The Gilded
Oh,
Age,
okay.
right?
No, I haven't
All right.
watched it
She
yet.
was Roebling's wife.
Yeah.
The Brooklyn Bridge.
Right, so she helped with the, I thought you knew that right away.
You know, I wasn't. I didn't even think about it. I just looked at the title, and I didn't even notice that the Brooklyn Bridge was on the cover.
Yes, so, so in The Gilded Age, and that was very interesting, and I've had this book for like over 3 or 4 years now. It's an advanced reader copy. But I was like, you know
I'm
what?
assuming that it came out already.
Oh, yeah, it came out in 2020. So, it was very interesting, and let me see, I've got a lot of notes here, because when I'm reading, I tend to write a lot of notes, and I'm trying to make it sensible for you. So it begins how she met her husband when they first get introduced to each other, and he's a real person, obviously, too. And she's a powerful woman, though. She's not easily smitten, but he managed to win her over, and they fell in love. And she wanted to be really involved in getting women's rights to vote, but it turned out that he ended up getting ill because with building the Brooklyn Bridge, he got what was known as casein disease back then, which is basically the bends. We call it the bends now.
Yes.
But then it was called casein disease. And it's interesting because then also her brother, came back from the war, and he had what was called, where is it that it was given a name that I was like, oh, that's interesting. geez. All right, I'll get to it in my notes, but first of all, I want to read a paragraph that I felt like it really kind of like tells about who she is. She goes, I've never heard of a girl or woman being encouraged to study scientific or mathematical concepts. Papa believed that females had no mind for them, but how could they if they hadn't the proper preparation? Hello. Schools seem to have no intention of changing education for women. It would take laws to force them to do it. All this reinforced the need for voting rights for women and for women to run for political office. But what was interesting in this is that, and I looked this up too, is that she said a lot of the women were hesitant to get the vote because they were worried that they'd have to do military service or have jury duty obligations. So they were hesitant, and which I thought...
because they were the ones also watching the children, too.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was no help.
Yeah, no. So she was, in real life, it sounded like she was a very powerful woman, but she had a lot of things to go up against, because the men, she had to go and represent her husband, and what men want to listen to a woman? You know, she actually ended up, she wanted to dress in men's clothes, but you could be arrested by impersonating a man.
Yeah.
Which I thought was so, it was just crazy. And it's funny because the novel that I'm working on now, I'm writing a historical fiction myself, and it takes place near Lion Mountain, which is upstate New York. And I found out by reading Lion Mountain's notes, my research, that the iron ore from their mines were used to help build John Roebling and Sons in the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge. So I found that to be kind of interesting. Let's see. So she couldn't be wearing men's clothes. Another risk that she was taking is if she wanted to still fight for the women's right to vote, but she knew that was going to put her husband in an awkward situation because he was a very powerful man.
Yeah.
And she knew that, so it's like, what do you do? You know, what do you do at that point? So, like, some of the things that take place during this book I found very interesting. It was during a time when plumbing was started to be installed indoors in people's homes that were wealthier. And they didn't have indoor plumbing. And bobby pins. She has a friend who was making bobby pins. And I'm like, it's just these little things that I
still
find
so important.
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, and so men coming back from the war suffered what was called soldier's heart. But in reality now we call it
PTSD.
Yep, exactly. And so her father-in-law in real life, he was the bridge designer, and his son, who's the one that got very sick and that she had to represent, but he contracted tetanus after his foot was hit by a boat at the landing. But she was so gung-ho and helping. Like, she saw books in her husband's library that she ended up studying so she could get a better handle on this. So,
well, she was running the project.
Well,
in reality,
she was, and from what I've read, I mean, she was up against the men. You know, they were to listen to them, and a lot of them did die in the project, and you know, of course, she felt guilty. But one of the things that she said was that there was a big bridge collapse that happened in Ohio in 1876, and 92 of the 160 passengers died because it was a train that was going over the bridge. And it unsettled her, but she said, without risks must be taken for progress to occur. And I think that was a lot of the thinking. It still is. Like, we're just,
well, even look with like the first transatlantic flight.
Yep.
You know, like you were taking a risk getting into a plane,
very
and
nice.
Now you are too because doors are flying off planes now.
Or planes land on Southern State Parkway. Really. So some of the people that she uses in the book that she talks about, I looked up and said, well, is this real or not real? And one was the Governor Kemble Warren, which was her brother, and mentioned him. And there was another one, Carrie D. Beebe, B-E-E-B-E. And she's an author of the book called Violets that you can still get.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on that place there on Amazon. Another character who has a very big part in this is Finnissy Taylor Barnum.
Oh, wow.
P.T. Barnum.
Yeah.
he was attracted to her. She was, her husband had health issues. She was attracted to Barnum. And that was a little iffy. It was a lot of the story was with that. Turns out none of it was true.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was made up.
That was made up.
Oh,
and a
okay.
lot of readers, I read the reviews, were very upset that she used that.
Oh.
Henry.
Well, that's what historical fiction is. Like, you can have some facts in
Right.
it. It's based on,
Right.
but then you could have your own fill-ins to
Right,
makes
right.
the story a novel.
But would you use a real person
I
to
was just
fill
thinking
that?
the same thing.
Well,
I
they
said,
do in historical
I
fiction.
know, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It gets a little grayer for
Because
me if they're
it's
using
fiction.
another well-known fiction.
But you're taking,
fiction.
but you're taking out somebody
You're
real.
embellishing
She
a
could
story.
make somebody else up. That
Exactly.
didn't have to be called P.T.
P.T.
Barnum.
Barnum,
Who
yeah.
could have run
That's
an
what I would-
amusement park. or
Well,
something,
it wouldn't be
or-
as interesting because everybody knows who P.T. Barnum is, and they
Yeah.
lived at the same
If
time.
she was
and
a good writer, she could make it interesting.
yeah, I don't know.
So-
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
all right. So
I agree
Henry
with Carol
Ward
on that one.
Thank you. Henry
You're
Ward
wrong.
Beecher.
Give me back your one.
Henry Ward Beecher
I'll
was
open up
also,
mine.
he had a very small part in it, but apparently, he was
Who?
a
Henry
Henry,
Wadsworth Longfellow?
no,
Harriet Beecher Stowe.
well, her brother. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Henry,
okay.
Henry Ward Beecher. He was a
Oh.
minister, but he apparently he well no, but he had affairs with other people. But I used his term, a phrase that he always said in Of Little Faith. It's compassion cures more sins than condemnation, and that's something that he says. But let's see what else. So yeah, there was a lot of other people. And so in the afterword, the author states that how she wrote the book was not to make it factual, but to better fit the pace of the story. One of the things that took up much of the novel was Emily's relationship with P.T. Barnum. She was attracted to him, like I said, and he to her. But yeah, and her husband found out and all of that. So it was like a little drama that I didn't need. Another thing that she did go into, very interesting, but I ended up skimming a lot, was how the bridge was built. Like a lot of the details. I mean, if you're interested in like that, you're gonna love this. But I like the fact that she was a powerful woman, and she really kind of got pushed into helping her husband with the bridge because she did have her own life. She had a baby. She didn't really care for the baby. I mean, take care of the baby. She had a nanny that took care of the baby.
Oh.
But she
That's a big
she
distinction,
was more
Carol.
she was very focused on this bridge for her husband, and that it was obviously a big project, and then people did die, and it was just very interesting. And there were things. There was a big protest that actually did happen. But it was after the bridge was up and a lot of people died. So there were so many things in history that I'm like, wow, I never knew.
I have a question.
Go.
Did she ever become an engineer herself?
Not that she could take credit for it, no.
Okay, so she never went and got her degree?
No,
or-
she never got a degree.
Okay.
She actually wanted to get a law degree. So I'm not sure if she actually did go get it, because I should have looked that part up, what happened to her.
It reminded me a bit of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, her story, because her husband,
Oh, right.
her partner, took ill, and she did all of his a lot of it, not all,
Right.
but a lot of his assignments
Wow,
Yeah.
to
yeah.
get him through law school while she had a family
Right.
and while she was starting her own law
Right.
degree. So yeah,
Yeah, we take so much on as women. We really do. I mean, men work hard too. I'm not saying
Oh,
that,
yes.
but yeah. Here's somebody.
they do.
So
They
I
do.
would give this 4 Wildflowers because I like the fact that it challenges me to research. And I know you're the queen of research. You
I go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
pages and pages that I will not be able
And then
to
we
get
spend
through.
time like, where is that paper? I wrote it here somewhere.
But again, it's The Engineer's Wife, and it has been out for a few years. But
It's probably in paperback now.
oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I think it might have even came out in paperback. I'm not 100% sure. But yes, 2020 it came out.
Good
so.
review.
Well,
Thank you.
A lot of notes. It's like I get so scattered in my notes, and I try to put them in some kind of order, but
I like how you write as you go along. For me, I don't do it until I prepare,
have
and then
to.
sometimes
I know.
I forget.
If
Oh,
I,
this
yeah,
is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, if I
have to
don't,
do
I'll
something
forget because I'm
quickly.
already 3 books later, you know.
Yeah, and it's that's good. It's something you should. Usually, I'll write sometimes in the book, which I know I'm trying not to do as much because I'm passing more books on than I used to. So
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to a light-hearted topic.
yes.
I have to look
What do
something
we
up. Wait a
have?
second.
Oh, God. She's got to look something up.
Now,
Wait a
have you
second.
read anything else by Tracey? And
I have
Enerson
not.
With? Enerson
No,
with?
I have not. And I'm trying to think if this is her first novel or if she's written nonfiction. While Peggy looks that up.
I can't find it now. I thought I had it open, but I could, it's just something that I happened to come across when I was here today. And I said, oh, I didn't know that this was going on
Okay.
right now.
She had a lot of magazine articles.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's interesting that you've read this historical, and you said that you're starting to write a historical novel as well
Yeah.
now too, which that's new for you.
Well, yes and no, because before
Okay.
she was a Finley, has a lot of history in it.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah,
But yeah, the historical novel that I'm writing now, and it's funny, my research, I'm like, oh, Lion Mountain, the iron ore and the mining, and and I had a classmate when we were in first grade. Her father was killed in the mines,
Oh,
and
gosh.
and it was like her mother's second husband. Her first husband had gotten killed in the mines too.
Wow.
So I do remember that. So yeah, I'm using all of this, but women's empowerment and kind of thing. But we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see
Okay,
how
we'll
that
see
goes.
where that goes.
So anyway, my topic today is an eye for an eye. It's about capital punishment. And I'm curious as to what you guys think of capital punishment, just briefly.
I can't be brief.
Pro or con?
It's not that simple for me anymore.
Okay.
After you read
the-
it.
I know. I
after
didn't read
reading
that
the
book because I
Enchanted.
didn't want it to jade anything. And anyway, I'm
I
reading.
said
I was
you
reading
should.
something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
I can't say it like
Over
that.
the years,
Okay.
I have changed my points of view.
Uh-huh.
I've been this way, that way. I always ask myself, could I be the one to kill him? However, you pull the thing down or put in the poison or whatever. And no, I don't think I could, unless it was done something to a loved one of mine. Then I could.
Yeah.
So, what?
I
It's a
don't.
very hard one.
It's
You know why? Because there's innocent people that are put on death row, and
Oh my
that's
God.
the thing that scares me. It's just horrible. I mean, I just watched The Shawshank Redemption for the first time yesterday, and as I'm watching it, and all I kept thinking was, might makes right, and you don't have to be a prison guard to be.
but the alternative then would be life in prison.
Right, and
And
that's
after
It's
you
life.
read The Enchanted, it's may not be.
But it's
death may
life.
be better than life in prison.
We'll say that last part.
Death might be better than
Death
life
might
in
be-
prison.
Yeah.
In some cases.
I'm very against capital punishment. I always have been. And there's been some cases where I said, I hope he fries, and like these vicious acts.
Oh, I would never be that
But-
way. Yeah.
But then when it comes right down to it, that's just out of anger and vengeance. And
Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord.
yeah, well,
You do that.
well, that is
Carol.
if there is
Yeah.
a Lord, okay?
Yeah, well,
So
you know.
anyway, I have so many notes, and I'm not going to be able to get through all of them. It's crazy. But anyway, so I'll just give you some, statistics that as of 2021, 60% of people in this country support capital punishment. But the majority of those people say that it isn't dispensed equally. So why are you for it?
Yeah.
All those people, they know that our legal system is not perfect.
Right.
And yet they are for it. To me, that's just a contradiction. So, in 1972, the U.S. Supreme Court, they made capital punishment unconstitutional.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
And they did it because it wasn't dispensed equally. Let's see. I have to look in here. I'm sorry. I have lots of pages of notes. And they said it qualified as cruel and unusual punishment, primarily because states employed execution in arbitrary and capricious ways, especially in regard to race.
I was just going to say.
Oh my God, there's so many statistics about it. It's very, if you went on this website that I went on, you would
blow up.
Yeah, you would. Your brain would blow up. Okay, so it was the first time that the nation's highest court had ruled against capital punishment. However, because the Supreme Court suggested new legislation that could make death sentences constitutional again, so such as the development of standardized guidelines for juries that decide sentences, it was not an outright victory for opponents of the death penalty. So then, in 1976, they said, I think that we've made some strides with these, so it's constitutional again. Because 66% of Americans in 1976 were pro-death penalty. And remember, in the 70s, crime was really, it was rampant. So the Supreme Court then acknowledged progress made in jury guidelines and reinstated the death penalty under a model of guided discretion, which doesn't happen now anyway. So we don't need to know that part. So I'll just give you a couple of things. So these are recent studies on race. Okay, so jurors in Washington state are 3 times more likely to recommend a death sentence for a black defendant than for a white defendant in a similar case. Louisiana, the odds of a death sentence were 97% higher for those whose victim was white than for those whose victim was black. A study in California found that those convicted of killing whites were more than 3 times more likely to be sentenced to death as those convicted for killing blacks, and more than 4 times more likely as those convicted of killing Latinos. A comprehensive study of the death penalty in North Carolina found that the odds of receiving a death sentence rose by 3.5 times among those defendants whose victims were white.
And the thing is, with the people of color, they don't get the representation.
That's what, I have this here. Let me see here. All right. So one of the reasons why I am against it is because it is not dispensed equally. And there's a lot of factors involved there besides race. And race is a very big one. But it's also your economic class.
Right.
Because you can't afford these lawyers. Maybe you have a legal aid lawyer assigned to your case that has hundreds of other cases that they have to deal with. It's also, I'm going to read this here. Only a small percentage of death-sentenced inmates were convicted of unusually vicious crimes. Most were convicted of crimes indistinguishable from, you know what, I can't see. I have to turn on the light
wait,
because I wrote it in pencil and I shouldn't have. Thank you. Most of them were convicted of crimes indistinguishable from others serving prison sentences, such as murder in the course of an armed robbery. Death penalty, they compare it to like a lottery. It's determined by your race, by your sex, by your economic class of the prisoner or the victim, and geography. Like, say for instance, Carol murdered me viciously, okay? And I know sometimes she wants to.
Never.
But
Never.
And Carol lives in Alabama. And and Carol gets the death penalty. Now Judy lives in New York and she killed Niall. And it was just as vicious as what Carol did. It was the same crime, same circumstances. Judy got life imprisonment because of where she lives. I mean, how do you see that as fair? It depends on, even in the states that have the death penalty, they said some counties use it indiscriminately, and other ones hardly ever, convict somebody, put somebody to death.
So who's the one that does the conviction? Is it just the judge and jury? Does he?
It's the district attorney would be the one to determine whether or not the person met the criteria to get the death penalty.
Well, they could bring the case, and
exactly.
then they have to put it before a judge and jury usually,
right?
And then the jury, in most cases, would be the deciding factor. So, but it's up to the prosecutor to want to bring a death penalty. They can opt to not bring a death penalty case, but they can. And in certain areas, there's sentencing guidelines. So depending upon if the crime under the sentencing guidelines falls under the death penalty, then it's an option they have. But and again, these sentencing guidelines are determined by your states, and they all differ, which are all things that we vote on. Essentially we vote on by who we put in as prosecutor and governor and all of that stuff.
So there's judges on January 25th last month. This man was sentenced to death in Alabama.
That's when I was reading The Enchanted by Renee Denfield.
This is what made me do this discussion, because there was an article about it when they executed this man in the New York Times. And he wasn't a good guy. I'm not saying that he was a good guy at all. But I wanted to look at a note that I had here.
But while you're looking...
Okay. So Alabama was the first state that approved nitrogen hypoxia instead of lethal gas, and other states have joined them. And they wanted to, it was the first state to use it, and they used it for Kenneth Eugene Smith on January 25th, 2024. So Kenneth Eugene Smith, a minister, hired him to kill his wife. Him and another man. I don't know whatever happened to the other man. The minister committed suicide when they got caught. He killed himself, so he got away with murder. So, and a jury voted 11-1 to sentence him to life in prison. But the judge overseeing the case overrode that decision and sentenced him to death. Now, since that happened very recently, that practice called judicial override has since been eliminated in all 50 states. Because the jury made the decision. It was brought to them to make the decision, and this judge
in Alabama
again, exactly, decided, no, I'm not listening to the jury, put him to death. So then they said, okay, so they previously tried to execute him in 2022, and they tried using lethal injection. 4 hours he was on that table, and they couldn't find a vein. So they had to say, okay, we can't do this. So they took him off the table. He went back to his cell.
How horrible.
It is. So then they decided that they were going to use this nitrogen hypoxia. And they said that he should be unconscious in seconds and die within minutes.
It didn't happen.
22 minutes of gasping for air, writhing on the table. He was convulsing. And then the head of the prison or the governor or somebody said, oh no, it went the way it was supposed to go.
That's what I heard.
22 minutes.
Was he a man of color?
No, he wasn't. He was a white man.
Okay.
So anyway, but
one thing that why I was against the death penalty, and I do remember this, is that the person murdering got a bun rap like the way they were raised, the way I just feel like sometimes,
not always.
No, not always.
Not
no,
always.
no, and that's absolutely right. But
you have to read this book, because you get these death penalty investigators who uncover all of this stuff too.
I'd love to read that. Did you borrow it? Did you take it?
Yes, I could bring it back if you want, because I'm not going to read it yet. But First of all, the death penalty, a lot of proponents of it say, well, it's a deterrent to crime. It is not a deterrent to crime. States that have death penalty laws do not have lower crime rates or murder rates than states without such laws. And states that abolished show no significant changes in crime or murder rates. The death penalty has no deterrent effect at all.
Do you have a list of what states have it? Because I'm curious if the states that have the death penalty are the ones that have outlawed abortion.
Well, I don't have I didn't write down the list of the states that have it, but 27 states do have it. And mostly they're in the South. So these are the states. And that's where abortion has been typically restricted. Yes, exactly. Right. And let's see, on this list that don't have it.
A little hypocritical,
No southern states on the list of states that don't have it.
Oh.
So Alaska abolished it in 1957. Colorado abolished it in 2020. Fairly recently. Connecticut 2012 and again in 2016. I didn't get the whole story on that. Delaware declared it unconstitutional. Most of them were in like DC 1981, Hawaii 1957, Iowa 1965. The ones that really astonished me were Maine. They abolished it in 1887 and Wisconsin in 1853. So they were well ahead of the game of abolishing it. Massachusetts, 1984, unconstitutional. Michigan, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico. New York in 2007. North Dakota, Rhode Island, Vermont, Virginia, and Washington State also declared it unconstitutional. There's all the states that have it use lethal injection, but a lot of those states have a secondary, way of killing someone.
But that's an evolution because they used to do electrocutions. They used to do even before then hanging, gunfire, pistols. And,
some of them, Utah has lethal injection with firing squad as a secondary. That's what I was trying to say. South Carolina allows prisoners a choice of electrocution, firing squad, or lethal injection. Can you imagine having to make that choice? Missouri, lethal injection or gas inhalation. Florida, choice of lethal injection or electrocution. Kentucky, convicted. If you're convicted before lethal injection, you can choose electrocution. There was... All right, let's see. We have Alabama, previously, we already did that. Oklahoma has executed more inmates per capita than any other state since the 1976 reinstatement of the death penalty. In 2023, there were 24 executions in the United States. There were actually 58 scheduled. 24 were executed. 34 are now listed as inactive, so there might be an appeal, or they move the date to next year, because sometimes they do that. They'll just say, no, we won't do it this year, we'll do it next year. Maybe they don't want to have too many in 1 year.
And I have a question for you, though, because you both have very strong opinions, and I thought I did too before I read The Enchanted by Renee Denton.
Go ahead, because I don't know if I have that strong of an opinion.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry if I mischaracterized it.
No.
Would you feel any different if the one convicted wanted to die?
I don't think that the state should, I remember we used to say years ago that a death penalty was do as I say, not as I do. And really, when you think about the death penalty, executing someone, it's really vengeance disguised as justice. Why is it justice? Why should the state be allowed to kill someone?
They're not going to bring back the person.
No, it doesn't change what that person did.
It maybe has roots in biblical as well, an eye for an eye, as well.
It does, absolutely.
Genesis. Yeah. The concept of capital punishment was established in Genesis 9:6. Whoever sheds the blood of man I can't read that. The blood of man, or shall his so also shall his blood be
but
shed.
But also in the Ten Commandments, when
thou shalt not kill.
But they're trying to justify like the term kill. Did it mean like, you know, justified or
it's killing?
They're taking it from a different language altogether, and it's just.
And who wrote the Bible?
Well,
men wrote the Bible.
Men wrote
and
the Bible.
A lot of probably men in power.
Exactly.
You know, and a lot of the Old Testament. There's a couple of different quotes from Leviticus and about. Like, it's like God has mandated, you know, this, you know, to the governments and authorities that they're allowed to do this.
Right. Well, they're allowed to kill a person who's planting fields, certain things are next to each other, and if they're doing that, they're allowed to kill.
But this is, again, like, you know, similar to the abortion debate. You know, and I think it's interesting how the states flip-flop. The ones that have very lenient abortion rulings have ruled abortion unconstitutional.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And not abortion, have ruled the death penalty unconstitutional. And vice versa. Those who have restricted abortion says the death penalty is constitutional and actively use it. So I think, you know, similar, you know, we're not going to get this, and because the Supreme Court overruled, you know, and has left it up to the states, just like now they're leaving the abortion thing up to the states. So what if, though, but I don't think you've answered the question, is what if an inmate in one of these states where the death penalty is there has no problem with being put to death? Would that change your opinion in any way?
No, because I don't think that the government should be able to kill somebody.
Okay.
They shouldn't be able to kill somebody.
So it's more the government, not whether the morality of should it happen or not.
Because it's just, if it's vengeance. No matter how, even if that convicted person wants to die, like Gary Gilmore did.
Right.
I mean, he was sentenced to.
Who
that was in like 1977. He killed this couple because they wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let him borrow their car, and he killed them. But he was like a long-term criminal. He did a lot of bad stuff over the years, and he was in Utah. And he was firing squad. He actually picked it. He wanted it.
He wanted it.
And when it was time for him to go, his last words were, "Let's do it." Like he was.
He was ready.
Yeah, he was ready, and he was adamant about it. It was kind of like, "I'll show you," you know.
Well, get it over with. Yeah.
But no, I don't know.
That's why I want you to read this book, because that element plays into that enchanted book, and. There was something about it. No, there was something about it.
Well, you can't.
In prison, people kill themselves in prison all the time.
Read this book. Read this book.
It's not going to change my mind, because I don't.
You don't know.
I've read a lot of things about it. I've been doing it since I'm in high school, and I know that there's a lot of people that deserve it. I'm not saying that they don't, but also then when you look at the like in 2023, there were 24. Wait a minute. All right, this isn't what I was looking for, but this is a little interesting too. So there's about, you know, like the okay, since 1976, 196 death row prisoners have been exonerated of all charges related to the wrongful conviction that put them on death row.
Right.
So, you know, God knows how many people who were innocent who were executed.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to when we first started executing people.
Well, there was something funny you said today on CBS morning show. They actually just talked about a very large exoneration that I didn't hear about, but it occurred in November from Texas in Houston. There was it was 110 African American people who were involved in the military. They were military members.
Yes, I saw that.
You saw that, and it was interesting. And they was sent to Houston to guard something. I only, you know, to guard something for the military. But Houston was at the center of Jim Crow laws at the time when they went to do this, and there was a mob that was coming. They ended up being involved in a riot, and of course they were all arrested. And they were all convicted. Now, they were all represented by one person who wasn't even a lawyer.
Oh my God.
It's to the date, it's the largest criminal trial involving defendants. There was things like 67 defendants or something with one person who was not an attorney. They were all convicted. 18, I think, out of those 67 were sentenced to die by hanging. Wow. And so immediately, they weren't offered an appeal. They were overnight, they worked very hard to create this very large gallows with a big trapdoor that would open up all at once. And at dawn, they were all put in. They were finished up by dawn. By noon, they were on the gallows. They were hung all at once. And then, no, I'm sorry, at dawn they were hung. And by noon, it was all disassembled because they didn't want anybody to see. And so it looked completely.
Times.
The two family members were very active in trying to bring this to justice and to light, and they ended up getting them all exonerated in November. For that, and very sad.
A lot of them got hanged.
Well, some of the cons I wrote down that, people say the cons, and of course wrongful execution risk, and that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's really a big one. And it's not a deterrent, and it's extremely expensive too. It's 10 times more expensive to put somebody to death than it is to keep them in prison for life.
That was my question. Okay. All right.
Yep. It's steeped in racial bias. And poor legal assistance, and many times people who end up being executed, and it's immoral, and it amounts to torture.
Wait,
I don't like the word immoral.
I was just going to say I didn't like that.
Okay.
I don't like the word. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I was gonna,
it amounts to torture because these people, they're on death row for years and years and years waiting for this date.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the mental torture because we do, in some cases, there are some states that use assisted suicide.
Right.
And sometimes like lethal injections are used for that, or pills and stuff. Right. So I mean, it depends. I think.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about physical torture.
Okay.
They're not waterboarding them or anything. Yeah. And and also another big factor is official misconduct. And that does come up a lot. Like evidence is hidden with people. They don't want it. They got their man and they're not going to let it go. And the false accusations, that happens, faulty eyewitnesses. I mean, you could go on this site, Death Penalty Information Center. There are all the statistics
I think
are there.
it starts with, for me, because you asked at the beginning, I didn't really answer you, but I think I would be not that I want to, and I'm not actively seeking it, but I think I would be a good person to be on a jury for it, because I think my mind would be open.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, I couldn't because I
think it would be open.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want that blood on my hands.
I've been on both sides now, and now I think I'm in the middle. Yeah. I've been on both sides.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we've definitely gone over the hour.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
And I feel bad because Peggy's got tons and tons.
Oh my God, there's so much in here. And I just wanted to bring up one thing because I can't stand Ron DeSantis. So I'm going to read this. Ron DeSantis just signed bills in enacting 2 new death penalty laws in Florida. The death penalty for child rape convictions, and they're horrible people.
Those are all the rape and the embryos.
Yeah, really, exactly.
And that is that's despite a U.S. Supreme Court ruling banning that. He's doing it anyway.
That's a waste of time.
And the other law to end a unanimous jury requirement in death penalty sentencing. Like you have to have a unanimous thing for it.
I think it should be unanimous if you're going
to do it. He's changing that because he doesn't want it to happen. So,
well,
but anyway.
So you went down the rabbit hole.
I went way down the rabbit hole. I started this a couple of weeks ago, and I mean there really is.
Well,
right
opinion?
now the DOJ is actually they put like a stop on it for right now because before Trump left office. Oh God, I just have to read this because it's in July 2020, President Donald Trump, Department of Justice, under the direction of Bill Barr, resumed federal executions for the first time in 17 years. Over the course of the following 6 months, 13 federal death row prisoners were executed. During those 6 months, there was a news team. I'm not going to get into all
Well, that's
that
going to
stuff.
show you what he'll do with abortion.
Exactly.
Because it's tied to that.
Mhm.
They left it to
Yep.
the states. If he starts executions, he's going to make it all over a federal law against abortions. That's
Yeah.
what he's going to do.
Vote blue. Vote blue. Wait, Peggy, you always dash off.
Yes. Say
Thank
goodbye.
you.
Thank
Say
you,
goodbye.
Peggy.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, I have jobs to do over
She
here.
does, but I just
I
feel
want you to
bad.
get your appreciation.
Exactly.
We appreciate you, Peggy, and we appreciate you, viewers. Thank you very much
Yes,
for sticking
yes,
with us.
yes, yes.
Say
Let us
goodbye.
know what you think about Peggy Yes, they want to eat.
They want dinner.
Strong opinions.
Yes,